Yo, what's up, guys? How's everyone doing today? It's Johnny. It's another fight morning. Pardon my voice. I went to a jazz festival yesterday. So it was one of these day festivals, which is great. Just like I like. Started at 12 p.m. noon. It was supposed to wrap up at 8. I went home at 6 p.m. and I was in bed by 8 p.m. But loud music, chatting shit with the boys. So my voice is a little parched. But while I was there, we had the Zuffa card. The Zuffa card, uh, it's exactly how we expected it to play out. We did well. Hopefully you guys did well. The swindler says we swindled the bookies. We called it, on Sunday. So 6 days ago, we had Julian Rodriguez at plus 550. Swindler. And then those odds just crazily dropped. And by fight night, I think he was down to a plus 175. So depending where you took J-Rod, if you took J-Rod, it was a good call. Hats off to you boys. We got fights today. We're going to go over. I'll take your, the questions. We got UFC today as well. Guys, if you're not a Johnny Says Boxing Insider, that link is pinned right there. The JSB membership is on YouTube. You sign up on membership on YouTube. It's a couple bucks a month. You could also sign up on Patreon. We launched our Patreon last month. That is growing just like our Discord. Our JSB Discord is at 350 insiders. Where I post my picks every week is actually in the Patreon and on my YouTube channel. So the only way to get those picks is to become an insider. Now, if you've been a JSB OG and you've been in the Discord, I recently changed where I put my picks 2 weeks ago. So I used to have a section in the Discord. Now it's on the YouTube channel under members only. So that's where all my picks. I gave you guys 6 tickets this week. The only one we missed was our long shot parlay. We took Austin at plus 650 against El Chino, and you lost. So every now and then, what I like to do is, every week we find these fights with crazy odds, and you sprinkle a little bit of something on it. The crazy thing is, at the start of the week, Austin and J-Rod were equal amount underdogs, which is crazy. And so I did my film study. I actually uploaded my Stats Don't Lie breakdown prediction and analysis of J-Rod versus Kane, and that's up on the channel. You could check that out. I put all my receipts. They stay on my YouTube channel. Fights I've gotten right, a lot of them. Every fight I've gotten wrong, up on YouTube. So if you're new to the channel, have a look. Go to my fight prediction playlist. You'll see my Stats Don't Lie video series. Wherever you're tuning in the world, like this video, subscribe, join our JSB Insider list. I also posted two new tickets today. I gave you guys another UFC parlay, and then I also posted another Matchroom parlay. But we have live action going from last week, and we've hit 33 bets in a row on our money line. So I want to, talk about what we hit yesterday in the first few minutes, and then we'll open the floor to you guys and our discourse about what's going on today. Muratalla versus Cruz, Co versus Hart. We could talk about the UFC and all that good stuff. I do want to cover what happened yesterday on our channel. So we're going to go over our bets real quick. Okay, so this is, and all of this stuff was unfolding when I was at the Jazz Festival. So it was it was pretty cool to go to a music festival and just see in real time. I had to watch the fights last night, after they aired, but when the money was coming in and all your messages in the Discord, it was a pretty cool moment. Because I got to be honest, that first Zuffa card, I told you guys all week, man. We're either I said this on Monday. I was like, we're either gonna sit here after the Zuffa card and put our hand, be like, we up, or we're gonna be like, shit, I got that wrong. But hey, fortunate for us, we still good. So J Rod's up. Shout out to so this is No Limit. He's in our Discord. He tailed my bets. I gave this is bet for bet on in the chat. This is JSB Insider Classic, right? This was a plus 540. Plus 540. We ain't doing all them little, we're finding value. My goal in 2026, find value. Talk about it all the time. And so it will go over those ones. So shout out to Gigi. He put 1,500 and he won 8,600 on my picks. This is a JSB Classic. If you're new to the channel, one of the things we have a lot of fun doing is every week I give you guys a long parlay, a money line parlay. So I give you a long money parlay. I give you my dog of the week. We've added a cycle parlay to the mix, and underdogs of the week, method of victories, that sort of thing. This was our plus 556 money line parlay. GG put 1,500 on it, and he got about 8,000 back, 7,000 back. Nash money line, Merriweather money line, Cardenas money line, Floyd Diaz money line, Omar Trinidad money line, J Rod at 265. I'm salty. I locked this money line parlay in later in the week because these fights weren't offered on Monday. But on a single ticket, I got J Rod at plus 475. Tito at 16 and Walsh at 114. If you listened, hats off to you. The swindler says, baby, we up. And then JSB Insiders, the boys in the chat were popping off yesterday. Shout out to the chat. All right, this is all of these receipts. These are all up on YouTube. So if you don't know, I mean, we have a locked-in community. We have a very well-rounded JSB community, people with deep pockets, people making big wagers, and it's important for me to always put all receipts up. All of my receipts, if you're new to the channel, go to YouTube and just go to the post section and just scroll down, and you'll see. So this is over the last month of January. On the money line, we've hit 33 in a row. So it's a little bit hard to. So this dates back to the first one on the left is the Ajit KBL card. This is the Australian card with Liam Wilson. This was the Caden Griffiths card when everybody took Manny Flores and the boys in the JSB Insiders took Jorge Chavez. We still good. And this was yesterday. So you go 9-leg, 7-leg, 8-leg, 8-leg. We're at 33 in a row. My record last year was 54 in a row. So my 54 pick win streak last May is actually what started. You guys were asking me to start a Discord, and then my stubborn ass, it took me another 3 months to start the Discord. But we're in a good spot. I'm comfortable in going into today. I'm comfortable with my picks with Matchroom. I got to be honest with you. I'm more comfortable with my picks today than I was yesterday. Yesterday, the picks were, sometimes you get, in this game, you get lucky. But it does help to do what we do, have this chat and do our research and know the game. We grew up in the game. Boxing, that is. So I'm going to bring up the odds real quick. We're going to look at this card, and then I'll take your questions. All right, let's get it. So this is the current up-to-date odds. I already have my picks in, but Kaipo Galagos. Look, a lot of these money line odds aren't going to give you options. Let's see for a method of victory. Let's see the Z Moses fight. Yeah. This is sports bet. I'm sticking with my guns. There's a lot to be made about the weight miss, 7, 8 pounds with the Khalil Ko, Jesse Hart fight. I picked Ko earlier in the week. I'm sticking with Ko. I really wanted to get Madrimov by stoppage, but look, these odds suck too. So Israel Madrimov, he's fighting a guy in Luis Salazar. Salazar, I mean, what's his biggest claim to fame? Getting stopped by KJ. So he gets stopped by KJ, and I think Izzy should stop him for sure. Madrimov, if you don't know, I mean, this guy coming off 24 rounds with Bud Crawford and Virgil Ortiz. Some say he wasn't well against. Some say he wasn't well against Virgil. Say what you will. I like him by stoppage, but I mean, I never really like putting $1.19 by stoppage. So I think he should get the job done. Guys, we're 11 minutes in. We're floating between 40 and 60 on the live stream. Wherever you are, let me know what time it is, and I'll start taking your bets. I'll start taking your comments. I'm going to tap in. I'm going to check in with everybody right now. We got King. King's a new member. King's an OG. He just re-upped. Guys, to join our JSB Insider group, like I said, click the link that's pinned in the comment section. You get access to the Discord. You get all my picks, UFC, boxing. But more importantly, in that Discord, it's a growing community. It's a professional betting community, so it's not just combat sports. We have the Australian Open popping in there right now, American football, basketball, hockey. We're launching Major League Baseball when the season comes. For you Aussies, we're doing the NRL. NRL is one of my favorite sports. So we're going to be launching that as well. Adrian Hernandez, what's up, man? I appreciate your support. What happened to the... What do you mean what happened? It was a plus 550, baby. We lost. It was the only one. Big Shadow. Sup, Johnny? You think Ronnie Alvarez, Capo Gallet? I don't think any of these fights will win easy. I think a lot of these, and we see guys with a lot of these prelim undercard fights, is that you'll see the wide odds, and you'll see one's a big favorite, and it's going to be close. It'll be close enough, and usually the favorite, and this is why boxing is interesting, and that's why it's fun to find dogs, is because on the domestic level, and as they're climbing the ladder from domestic, and then they're carving their own way out as from, their prospects, in that prospect journey of a fighter, as they're going from prospect to contender to potential titleist, you have a lot of close fights that you have to maneuver through. And so sometimes as the bettor, we have to rely on the judges. We have to rely on the scorecards. We have to rely on what they're seeing is what we're seeing. And so when I hear, will it be an easy win? I don't think any fighter goes into a fight as a professional and gets an easy win. So as the bettor, I'm 50-50 on a lot of the fights. You're comfortable with picking the fights, but when I'm watching, it's like this. It could go either way. It's boxing, man. You got a right hand, you got a left hand. It's boxing, baby. The swindler, we up. What up, Johnny the Goat with the clean hat? I appreciate you. Yeah, so in Australia, the Aussies wear these. There's a name for them. They come of all colors. I had to get the fade up too. So I didn't wear this hat, but I had to get that little fade up, boy. I'm rocking the hat because the swindler says, whenever we swindle the bookies, the swindler's out, baby. Fighter of the year. I appreciate you guys. Wherever you're tapping in, guys, it's fun when we win. When we lose, put it on me. I told you guys last night, and I told you guys all week, if Deonda loses, that's on me. But if he won, Tommy, I was going to give all the credit to Tommy. But yeah, whenever we're not just going to take 9-1 favorites. That's not what we do here. Look at my record. Yes, on the money line we take favorites, but in every fight card we're hitting plus money odds. Look at the odds that we hit with all of our tickets. What's your parlay with some method of victory? Okay, so I like Matt. The odds suck on the Madrimov stoppage. The odds suck on the Madrimov stoppage, but I like Madrimov. I like Andy Cruz on points. I think the Khalil Ko fight should go over. UFC, I like my boy Charles Johnson on the money line. I like Hokit by stoppage. I like Patty Pimblett on the money line. What's up? How long you reckon Madrimov fight goes? Look, Boxing Booth, great question. Let's put ourselves in Madrimov's shoes. We know this is a guy who 2 fights ago put himself, he was the WBA world champion. This guy was the world champion before he fought Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford moves up from 47, fights Madrimov at 54, goes the distance. I scored it 8-4. Madrimov loses that fight, and then he goes right into Virgil Ortiz, 2 of the biggest names in boxing back to back, and he loses both fights. Takes some time off. This is his comeback fight. Knowing this kid's pedigree, knowing his career, knowing how switched on he is, you'd have to think that he's going to be equally just as explosive as Madrimov at his best. And I'm saying, so, some people all week were kind of torn. Will he just cruise to a finish? I don't think so. I think he's going to come out hot. I think he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder and something to prove. I expect to see Madrimov at his best. The kid is top tier talent, top tier athlete. Not many guys could go back to back the distance with Bud and Virgil. And the Bud fight was close. You could score at 8-4. You could score at 7-5. It was in those championship rounds that Bud separated himself, and we saw the great. And that's why, as boxing fans, we can only hope for great fighters fighting each other. And guys, in the next 12 weeks, this first quarter of the year, we're about to see that. So if you're a real boxing fan and you like 50-50 fights at the highest level, sit back and tune in, because this is the greatest sport on earth. And now, so there's a group of online Twitter trolls. I call them Johnny's babies. So there's a group of, I don't have Twitter, so people send me tweets and screenshot stuff to me. I guess the Johnny's babies on Twitter were salty that we shared the J-Rod pick in my own Discord. They're salty that, like, the odds, I disagree. I don't think there's any way a small guy like myself could affect betting odds. It's not like we have millions of followers. These people need to, but yeah, the odds crashed. I don't know why they crashed. And at the end of the day, we picked them. You know what I'm saying? Cain Sandoval as a favorite in that fight. I said it all week. Watch my breakdown. The bookies get it wrong. They're not always right. And I feel that that was kind of like a gift to us in terms of when you look at their careers, when you look at where they've been, where they're going. And I felt like the time was perfect for a real veteran in J-Rod. If you know his career, the kid was when he was 9 years old, he was a national champion boxer as a 9-year-old. You know what I mean? This is a kid who fought his whole career with a chip on his shoulder, had to overcome so much adversity. And any grown man knows nothing more dangerous than a driven and motivated man. And that, if you know J-Rod and watch his career, that's what we were leaning on. And we weren't saying, this isn't a channel. You'll never hear me call a fighter a bum. We were never calling him a scrub. I never talk negative on any fighter, whether they win or lose. Fighting my whole life, growing up in boxing gyms, any guy who's experienced knockouts or knocked people out would respect the game enough to say that Cain Sandoval, it's just in his evolution at 23 years old, it was a perfect opportunity for that 31-year-old veteran to snatch that victory, and it's exactly what he did. Cain, what's going on, brother? Hopefully you're feeling better. I'm looking forward to our catch-up on Monday, mate. You got a big fight coming up. My boy Cain. Australian Commonwealth Games, baby. They better get ready. Write his name down. Cain Mack, baby. Zuffa doesn't allow self-expression. The coach, yeah, I hate that. I'm not a fan of, look, by nature, I'm not that big of a fan of conformity. You know what I mean? So I agree with you on that. I was pissed in 2015 when the UFC brought in Reebok. And in 2015, that's when the UFC really went from a fighter to fighter brand to the brand itself. And everybody had to wear Reebok. And you could no longer walk in with your brand t-shirts in your gym. And everybody looked unique. I like that style. I mean, everybody thinks about, Tito, Bad Boy, Tito Ortiz, Vanderlei Silva in the black shorts. Uriah Faber, the California kid. Even Conor McGregor, when he broke through, he had that, his own t-shirt company with the leprechaun here. And so you like that. I like individualism, especially in fighting. It's not a team sport. You know what I mean? It's a team sport to a sense, but it's an individual sport. You want to let that individual sort of expression flow out. Great win on Rod. That early line, we up. Mike Larry, what's up, Mike Larry? From the shot. I remember, not from the UK, from the shot. I do have Andy win. What's up, Chibo? What's up, Chibo? Hi. Yeah, so I do have Andy winning tonight. Over the last 12 months, I've learned from a few mistakes, and I'm not always going to get it right, but one of the things I've stopped doing, and we've seen more success on the channel by doing this, is I no longer flip-flop. I won't be talked out of a bet anymore. I stick to my guns. I'll dig my boots into the sand and I'll stand firm. And so I'm sticking with Andy Cruz on the money line. I'm sticking with Andy Cruz. My steal of the week on Monday, I gave it to the Discord boys and the Patreons, the insiders. We got Andy Cruz at $1.97 on points. So if you're a big bettor, there's guys in my Discord who would bet $10,000. So if you bet $10,000 on the $1.97, you get 9,700 back. So it's almost a 1-in-1. So I'm sticking with that. Also, Co and Jesse Hart, I'm sticking to my guns. The weight miss definitely bothers me. How could it not? How could a guy who misses weight, who's the younger guy, who's the favorite, who's the guy who's supposed to be on the uphill trajectory, the guy who's coming off a career redemption performance against Manny Gallegos, when he loses the first fight, puts his hand up and goes to Gallegos' hometown in Tijuana and stops him when he was the underdog. Was like, all right, this is the guy that we know he is. And then he comes in with this feature fight against a real veteran in Jesse Hart, a 36, 37-year-old Philly guy who has 3 losses but's never been stopped and has this opportunity to really showcase like it's Khalil Co's time. And then he misses weight by 7 to 8 pounds. Of course, that bothers me, but I'm still sticking to my guns. I still have Co to beat Hart. Am I hesitant? Yes. Have I pulled money out? Nah, I'm sticking with it, and I'm gonna go down with the ship if it's a bad read. So that's all I can say about that. Yeah, you got a good eye. You zoomed in. You zoomed in, brother. Is that Tito Mercado or is that you in the photo? Because if that's you, man, you look like Tito. One of my Mercado's one of my favorite fighters. Should Co-Hart have been canceled? I was a bit surprised it's going ahead. Commissions, money. We don't know the agreements behind the closed doors. We don't know what the camp said. We only know what they give us. We only know what the promoters and what they're saying on social media. Who knows? Maybe it's one of these things. I have no idea. If everything was cut and dry, hell yeah. 100%. If everything was cut and dry and it is what it is and it seems like it is and this guy missed, no matter who you are, if you're a guy nobody's ever heard of, if you're fighting your first fight, you missed by 7 pounds, you're not fighting. And if I was the promoter, you wouldn't fight on my card again. That is as a fighter, if even as a guy, if you've ever put your hand up, if you've ever had to cut weight before to perform, you know what I mean? If you've ever had to cut weight before, you know that is the fight before the fight. Getting on the scales and making weight is the fight before the fight. And to lose that fight, on the scales, yeah, I wouldn't have let that fight go on. I like this. Madrimov, Cruz, O'Malley, and Nurmagomedov. I like this. I like it. Muratalla, Cruz, 50-50. I think it's going to be 50-50 until it's not. I'm a fan of Muratalla. I'm a fan of both guys. If I had to pick like Johnny, who are you a bigger fan of? Like, not, how do I say this? Not as a fighter. Like I cheer for guys like Muratalla. A chin down approach, always locked in, super professional, has a chip on his shoulder, kind of feels like, even though he's the champion, kind of feels like people sleep on him. He has an edge about him. He's never smiling. I like that sort of guy. But I also like the flashy Andy Cruz. I think Andy Cruz's speed kills. I think it's going to be the speed. Andrew Charles, appreciate you. Kane Mack, could you see potential Khalil Co bad performance, whether when? Yeah. Yeah, we don't know what's going on. Guys, a lot of times, if you're missing weight by that much, that tells me that there was a deterrence in your preparation. Maybe it was an injury. We know that he had rhabdo before. Rhabdo you get from overtraining. Rhabdo is something that's very common in CrossFit and ultra endurance events. and athletes who push their body to a breaking point, and then within the bloodstream, the body produces these toxins that become toxic to the liver and kidneys. And you could have liver failure, kidney failure, all this sort of thing. Virgil Ortiz, when he was fighting at 147 pounds, he got rhabdo. When he was struggling with those weight issues and pulling out of fights, that's what he had. Khalil Ko in the first Gallegos fight had rhabdo and still fought him. When he said that after the first fight, nobody believed him. And then when he took the second fight and we saw that version, it was like, holy shit, he wasn't lying. Now, this is a guy who, all things considered, has been known to train his ass off. Was he overtrained? Did he get sick again? Was he injured and he couldn't cut the weight? Did he take that information and tell Jesse Hart's camp? I don't know any of this. I don't know. But there's a lot of these questions, mate. And, you know, like I said, we're going to find out. Boots does have a title. He won the IBA. Didn't he win the IBA from, didn't Lima have the IBA title? If you're gonna, a lot of you, I don't know if we count the IBA. The IBA, right? WBC, WWC. Yeah, not the IBA. I think Lima had the IBA, which it's a title. He'll be a champion soon. Zai's about to be. Zai's, I mean, unbeatable if they let him continue. He's already unbeatable. I mean, any guy who's 22 years old, who's the youngest world champion in boxing, who's undefeated, at least he's unbeaten. That's fine. Look, guys. Hakeem, I'm not trying. My job here isn't to talk you out of any of your picks. I'm never gonna talk you out of any of your picks. I'm just being transparent on where I'm going. And look, the Madrimov odds are so wide. It's going to be a coin flip. You have to get sexy by picking a method of victory or by picking will it go the distance. So, you know, I think it's 50-50. It goes the distance versus he gets a stoppage. My boy Julius, he's a JSB insider. Julius, look, Julius got the Madrimov on points at plus 400. And when we talk about value picks, excuse me, that's a great value pick. Am I picking it? No, but we're looking for value. Madrimov on points at plus 400 is a great value pick, right? It's plus 400 for a reason. If you cut that pick in half by two outcomes, will Madrimov win? Yes. So you're already 50% winning that plus 400. The other 50% would be, all right, we know he's winning. Is he going to win by stoppage or on points? So it's actually a 33%. 33% he's going to win. 33% he's going to win by points. 33% he's going to get knocked out. So depending on your bankroll, you know, the plus 400 is actually a good bet, statistically speaking. Am I taking that bet? I'm not taking that bet. Australia. Dude, that's what they think, man. That's what they think. They're out here, dude. They're out here crazy, boy. Got to keep a smile. Wherever you are in your world, you got to keep a smile. Smile, man. People don't like to smile too. I was a really angry kid. I was a really angry guy in my 20s. I felt like the world owed me something, and I felt everybody was out to get me, and I never was smiling. And then, you know, I did a lot of work on myself, a lot of self-reflection, and then you get to a point where you're like, just that some people don't like people smiling, which is insane. And I understand that a lot of people, everybody's battling their own demons. But here, do this today. When you're in public, if you're walking past a stranger or a group of people, have a smile on your face. It's always good when like somebody walks by and they smile back. It's like free medicine. So I don't know why that, you know, we'll see. So one of your trolls had J-Rod, but tipped the knockout rather than money line. Johnny's babies. Call him Johnny's baby. Johnny's kids. We'll start a donation fund for Johnny's kids. Golden boy, you're betting on that stuff? You're a savage. You're a savage. When it comes to just boxing, I don't do influencer boxing. I don't bet on celebrity stuff. You know, I can't bet my money on that stuff, man. King Ty, what's good, baby? We good? Zay Moses win today. Nah, don't be nervous. Look, Zaquan Moses is that dude. I'm a big fan of Zaquan. I've been watching him since the amateurs. like I said, I brought this up earlier on my live stream earlier in the week. Covering, Joseph Brown is an amateur. He's a pro now. I think he might be 4-0. And I interviewed Joseph Brown on the channel. The interview's still up. It would have been like 3 years ago. He might have been 17 or 18. Shout out to Joseph Brown and his pops, Martin Brown. Very good people. And when I posted that interview, I started getting a lot of messages on Instagram from a lot of amateur boxers in America. And a lot of those young bucks follow me. And Z Moses is one of them that he is legit, man. He's fast. He's strong. He's a dog. He's growing into his man body. Put an asterisk by Zay Moses' name, man. I wouldn't be worried about him at all. Julius, stand on business. I ain't mad at you. Stand on business. I like dude. It's good. I like everybody here going for Ray. It'd be great to see Ray win. I'm a Ray Muratalla fan. It'd be great to see him win. Continue. Was he's 23-0 with 17 knockouts. He has a fan-friendly style. I wish the boxing, I think the mainstream boxing media could do a much better job marketing. This is where boxing falls short. Marketing fighters, marketing individual fighters. And I'm leaning on the fact that Zuffa, just because Dana White, it's how he does with the UFC fighters. If anything, hopefully he'll do that for his guys, because Raymond Muratalla, he ticks all the boxes. But there's so many fighters that need that extra push to break through into the mainstream more than just the performance in the ring. Somebody doing their, but just better marketing for the fighters, letting the fans get to know who these guys are outside of the ring, because that's the endearing bit. We love the performances and we become, attracted to the style of the fighter in the ring, whatever your personality is. You might like a counter boxer, you might like a brawler, you might like a guy who comes from behind and could be the hammer and the nail. But all that said, if these guys aren't getting marketed on an individual level to allow the public to get to know who they are as a man, it kind of does the sport a disservice. So hopefully we get more of that. And Raymond Muratalla, I hope he wins. I'm not betting on him though. And that might not make a lot of sense to you guys, but I don't do this as a fanboy channel. Sometimes I bet against some of my favorite fighters all the time, and sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong. But if I had to pick, I've watched more Muratalla than I have Andy Cruz. But when I break the tape down and I've watched Cruz's small amount 6 pro fights and I mix that with, for me, it comes down to the levels I've seen Andy Cruz sitting on his punches. He already has the speed, he already has the timing, he already has the ring generalship. We know that he uses the entire ring. It's the adjustments I've seen in his last 2 fights, sitting on his backhand and his lead hook. And that is a testament to Bozy. That's a testament to Geron. That's a testament to Andy Cruz and him training in Philly. Because if you think that you're just going to see this tap-tap Cuban style, this sort of amateur thing, win on points, boom, 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 boom. I mean, watch tonight. You're going to see a lot more boom, catching, boom, counter. And it's going to be in that timing. My coach used to say, catching him on a line, on a yo-yo. You take a yo-yo like this and there's a timing component. Boom, boom. He does that really good, man. Do you believe a boxer should have a good amateur background? I do, but I believe some people ignore. I think an amateur background is a benefit. I don't think it's a necessity. Last night on the show, I had Tommy Rano, and Tommy Rano is a hell of a pro. 30-plus pro fights, never been stopped. Long Island guy. And, he didn't have it. He started boxing as a 17-year-old. So we can't control somebody's upbringing. Is it a necessity and a requirement? No, I don't think it is. Does it help sort of, in instances like a Lomachenko and Andy Cruz? Of course it does. So I think that if any boxer, it doesn't hurt for any boxer, any fighter to have more experience in any facet of the game. I think experience, especially as you climb the ladder, it's a factor that a lot of people don't talk about. In a 50-50 fight, guys, sometimes it's the experience that could tip the the cards in your favor. Co had an injured hand as well prior, maybe still injured. Dude was really trying to blow off the fight for some reason. Now, the injury thing I'm concerned about. really blown off the fight for some reason is a narrative that Jesse Hart was saying, because that's where he was trying to blow off the fight for some reason. I don't agree with that. But I'm not saying I disagree that that's true. I just don't agree with that. It's a possibility. Maybe he was trying to get an advantage. Maybe he miscalculated. Maybe his travel was bad. Maybe he missed a flight. Maybe he was sick and couldn't train for a week. You know what I'm saying? Cutting weight is a scientific approach. Cutting weight is a science to where from down to the calorie, down to the timing of leading up to fight night. So it's a very tricky sort of thing. To say that he did all that to pull out the fight and didn't pull out the fight, if he didn't want to fight, he wouldn't be fighting. What's up, Mike Ross? Um, I'm getting the fights on DAZN. So let me pull up DAZN's app and see when they're starting. It's 9:35 right now. It's 9:35 in Sydney. And the DAZN card says it starts. I'll let you know. I'm pulling up the ad real quick. Hell yeah. I think it's Tito's time. I'm a fan of Mercado. I've been featuring Mercado the last few years. I like his swag. Now dude, he's already confident and skilled. You give that guy a big fight opportunity, dude. The media week, the press leading up to it, man. He's marketable as hell. Put some money behind Tito, man. I mean, will he retire an undefeated guy? Probably not, but that's not a bad thing. Is he flawed? Yeah, but most fighters are flawed. That's a beautiful part about our sport. It's about, are you able to make split-second adjustments within a fight to find your opponent's flaws? And at the same time, in real time, are you able to disguise yours behind your strengths? That's boxing. That's the beautiful part about our sport. Yeah, so it's not on. It's saying that I'm getting 2.5 hours from now, boys. So the Zone app says 2.5 hours from now. Matty Bars, how'd you feel about the Zuva card in general? I liked it. For the first event, I think that competition in all facets of life, whether it's businesses, small businesses, whether it's media companies, whether it's athletes, whether it's promotional companies, all competition is good competition. There's two people in life. There's two people who have lived their world around the law of scarcity, and they think that competition is bad, and they think there's a small pie, and if these people are getting a piece of the pie, there won't be enough for me. Those people aren't successful. Those people are holding themselves back by this toxic mindset of the law of scarcity. The other person is the law of abundance. They see that same pie and they look, rather than saying, oh my God, if they have this piece, there's not going to be enough for me. No, they're like, holy crap, look how big that pie is. Look how big that pie is. There's enough for everyone. Law of abundance. So in this, just for that fact of alone, Dana getting into boxing, Zuffa, another promotion, gives more fighters opportunities. And I think it's great for the sport. Hard fight is still on because Hart said he begged the commission to keep the fight. Once again, this is coming from Jesse Hart. Is it true? Maybe. Is it false? Maybe as well. I don't take in that much credence in terms of betting. Hart, man, Hart's tough. No, dude, this is a tough fight, man. Money Meach, Larry Hoover. I agree. It's a bit worrying for fighter safety. Yeah, yeah. I think that if the commission saw something when they're doing medicals, because guys, these guys do medical tests, they do scans. I think if it was something, with his musculoskeletal system, so like a very like specific injury, something limiting his movement or his mobility, him trying to hide sort of pain, they would have found it. The vision thing. I'm not too worried about hand injuries though. I'm friends with guys who fought their whole career with one hand. I know a guy, guys who break their hands in every fight. It's boxing. You fight through that stuff. Johnny says boxing. We up. What's up, Luis? IBO. That's it. That's it. What did I say? I said IBA. Did I say IBA? I think the IBA is the IBA the European one. IBO. He had the IBO. Hart coach is a YouTuber. They knew nothing about the overweight issues. They thought it was unprofessional. Still believe yeah, of course. I watch. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a subscriber of YSN. I watch all those guys. I watch all the Philly guys. I'm a big fan of Philly boxing. I always talk about some of my favorite fighters are Philly fighters. Yeah, but this is a good conversation to have, Hydra Grind. I'm glad you brought this up. There's a big difference between an American Olympian, a Russian Olympian, and a Dominican Olympian. That's all in terms of numbers. It's not all Olympians are the same in boxing. That's all I'm going to say. But you're right. Salazar's an Olympian. Should imagine I'm fighting another Olympian. You guys need to do more research. Watch Salazar's tape, mate. Mayweather, it's been a while since I first saw you. Who you got winning? I think we're all winning. Guys, 70 in the chat right now, 40 minutes in. Like this video, hit subscribe. To get all my picks, join our Discord, JSB Insiders. The link is pinned here in the comments section. Couple bucks a month. You get everything. You get boxing, you get MMA, you get featured on the streams, you get stars by your name, you get to join our community. We up. Muratalla feels like more sharper puncher, but not the most accurate puncher and faster. Yeah, I think where Muratalla's shortcomings against Cruz are going to be his speed and his defensive acumen. So this is a key point for me. Muratalla is a brave dude, meaning that he's going to punch with you, but he loves showcasing his backhand. So from the orthodox position, he loves throwing that backhand, like committing to it. And I talked about this on my stream. He gets out of position a lot when he throws that backhand. When you're throwing a punch, technically, you're taught to. I did this demo the other day. You're taught to land and always keep your torso neutral above that lead knee. Technically, you're never taught to throw and get caught over that lead knee, right? He not only commits to that right hand over that lead knee, he drops his lead hand and he ducks his head to use his defense. Here, you see it time and time and again. Also, he switches stances a lot. So this is a guy in Muratalla who has a diverse offensive arsenal. He goes from orthodox to southpaw. I think he's susceptible to body punching. I said it. I think it's going to be Andy Cruz is going to hurt him to the body. I think Cruz is going to domesticate him in a sense that Muratalla will be aggressive. I think the more Muratalla gets countered and he gets hit with those sharp, quick, straight hands from Andy Cruz, I think it's going to make Muratalla make an adjustment, and I think it will then be up to Cruz to make a decision. Does he want to just cruise, no pun intended, to a decision, or will he want to turn it on to try to stop Muratalla? Yeah, it takes a scum. Yeah, it takes a scumbag. My dad was a 6'4" Czechoslovakian man from Prague, Czechoslovakia. He had 3 daughters, and I was his only son. Two of my sisters are older than me, and so my dad raised me in a house of women to always respect women. It was to a sense where I would bring home a new girlfriend, and he would make me leave the room, and he would talk to my girlfriend and let them know if Johnny's ever mean, upsets you, is disrespectful to you, let me know. Right? So I was raised by a very chivalrous father. Okay, I don't talk. Even when I was single, in locker rooms playing sports in college, in high school, in working as a strength coach in a gym, and if any of those old strength coaches are on the stream, they get attest to this. A lot of guys don't like that I'll call you out because I'm not a guy to kiss and tell either. Like guys who brag about getting pussy, dude, are I've always looked down on those guys. Bragging, if you're a straight dude and you're bragging about getting laid, bragging about getting laid is something so natural. If that's your currency, I'm going to call you out on that. Because why would we brag about something that's so natural? You know what I mean? Some guys make it their whole persona to brag about hooking up with chicks. And I'm like, man, if you're bragging about this, dude, you need to realign your sort of morals and your goals and values. So I say all that to say this. When I see guys, domestic violence, a known habitual woman abuser, Lock him up, man. I got no patience for guys who hit women, especially with this guy. And oh, but he wasn't. It was just, you can't believe the woman, bro. This is year after year after year after year after year. Patterns occur. We've seen videos at the charity basketball game, pulling that girl out by the hair, dragging her through the thing. We've seen this is a history with this guy, so I'm not a fan. Fraser Clark, Pat McCormick, Yankee Revenge. Julius. He ain't lying. Julius. He ain't lying. Fast card. Nice hat, Johnny. Good fight. Appreciate it. Yeah, so this is the Swindler. So this is the Swindler Says. The channel's called Johnny Says Boxing, but when we find those dogs like we found yesterday, it's the Swindler Says. The Swindler Says. We're out here dog hunting. We're swindling the bookies. Dude, Swindler. Dude, that's so golden. The Swindler. Yo, Golden Boy, man, I'm going to take you up on that. You know I'm going to do it. The Swindler. Now you look like a real Aussie. Yeah, I've been here since 2013, Rod. I've been here since 2013. Guys, 72 in the chat. We're floating between 72 and 92. Could you like this video? Could you hit subscribe? We got the boxing fight starting in 2 hours. We got the UFC. All the JSB insiders, they already have my picks. We hit all of our bets yesterday. We've hit 32 money line picks in a row dating back to the beginning of the year. And my goal last year was 54 money line picks in a row from April to May. And I'm trying to get there. So we're working to break my own record. Melbourne, yeah, the hat is the Swindler. So I had to rock the hat because the Swindler Says. So whenever we swindle the bookies and we find where they get it wrong, we find a plus 400, we're swindling the banks. So the Swindler Says. Retro, I hear Julius Olympians losing one. Bro, Retro, the list is big, man. Chazza Dickens versus Badr Gaziev, Frankie Rodriguez versus Galal Yafai, Umar Sufyan versus Fonseca, Yenis Tellez versus Barral. It's not even like, this is literally an occurrence in boxing. This isn't even, I don't think this is a flash in the pan pattern of behavior of fighters with under 15 pro fights going in as big favorites against veterans and losing. This is a bigger problem within boxing. This is promoters fast-tracking fighters to get big fights and a payout at the behest of their own career trajectory, rushing fighters into big fights when they're not quite ready at the behest of the payout. Now, I don't see that happening to Andy Cruz. I see a rare breed with Andy Cruz. I see a polished guy in his prime. I see a guy who utilizes his speed and ring IQ exceptionally. I see a guy who's a bigger puncher than people think, and I see a guy who trains. Look, this is RGBA versus Bozy. You know, you could put whatever you want into that. This is Robert Garcia versus Bozy Ennis. This is Virgil Ortiz versus Jaron Ennis. You know, if you want to do it, we could do that maybe. Retro, I've definitely been a fool to go Olympian and pass well. Yeah, we've been fooled, man. We've been fooled. Guys, Clifton, I agree, Johnny. We should respect women, but I hope you hold women to the same standards you're holding men. Yes, man. Come on. Of course. Women say they want equality. Look, I'm not trying to get too political on this, but you at least know where I stand. And there's good people and there's bad people. There's great men and there's bad men. There's great women and there's bad women. Of course, 100%. So I'm only coming from my perspective on that side, but it's an important point you bring up, Clifton, and I appreciate you doing that. And the last thing I ever want to do here is secrete an echo chamber. I'm not trying to preach either. It's just if you guys are new to my channel, it's why I don't want to come off. And I was asked about Tank Davis. I don't want to. It's not like I'm a Tank hater. Every time Tank's fought, I cover him on the fight. You know, the Leo Santa Cruz fight, the Leo Santa Cruz knockout's one of my favorite knockouts of ever. When Leo Santa Cruz, I mean, I'd like to interview him and ask this. For him to go to the well, I think 3 times in a row, I think he threw that backhand. He's on the ropes. You guys know the knockout. I can't. He's on the ropes and he throws that. He lands the backhand once and it rattled. You know, it land. He throws it again and Tank slips. Boom! One of my favorite knockouts. The setup One of my favorite setups. Tank Day, and I think partially why I'm pissed at Tank is my frustration as a boxing fan. I feel like we were, as fans, kind of robbed a little bit of some of his prime years. You know, we got to understand 5'5", 5'4", 5'5", 135 pounds. These are smaller guys who at age 30 are already starting to degrade with speed and reflexes. It's the bigger guys who are big power punchers. We know about this as men. As we age, the power stays with us. The things that start to deteriorate are those skilled things like speed and reflexes. And so I feel Tank's already in his 30s now. I feel like we were, as fans, we never really got to see the best version of him, and that's what kind of bums me out. And then you mix that with, he's a tortured soul, and I don't wish harm on anybody. So when I say I don't agree with how he acts and obviously how he treats women, it's not like I'm coming from a condemnation perspective. It's not. I don't wish ill will on him. If anything, I wish, he obviously needs to seek help, seek therapy, and work through a lot of trauma and turmoil. But man, as a grown man with all of the means now, a really wealthy guy, everything he earned with his fists, you would think that he would surround himself around people that were able to help navigate him in certain areas. But then again, you got to want to get help. You know what I mean? You got to want to get help. You can't be forced into getting help. You look like Patty Pimblett was. I've gotten a lot of people, but Patty Pimblett, yeah. When I used to shave, so I used to have hair down to here, and I used to just shave the head. Like 2 years ago, my head was shaved. So I just posted me hitting the heavy bag in the garage with the shaved head. That was 2 years ago. Like John Travolta, when I have long curly hair, when I have the shaved head back in the day. Oh, the long curly hair, I got Uriah Faber. I used to get Travolta. I used to get Uriah Faber. And then with the shaved head, I would get GSP. And then I've never gotten Patty Pimblett. But hey, man, take it. I'm a Clinton, no preaching. Chris Weeks. What's up, Chris? Did Tommy came on. So Paulie, ironically enough, Chris, was in my hometown, Youngstown. So Ray flew him out. Mancini was having a charity event in Youngstown with Kelly. I think Larry Holmes showed up, and Paulie got flown out there. So Tommy just came on. I mean, what are the chances? They booking a live stream, and I'm from Youngstown, but I live in Sydney, and Paulie couldn't do the live stream because he was in Youngstown. How cool is that? You got to love boxing. This is why boxing is the best sport in the world. So Tommy came on. We had a great chat. Tommy's one of my favorite boxing minds to talk to. Tommy has my personal phone number, so we've become friends, and we talk every single day. I just talked to him before this live stream about where we're putting our money. All boxing, just strategy, what we see. We broke down the tape together of J-Rod, Hammerhands, before the fight. And so, navigating our picks, we kind of lean on each other to navigate. It's good to have some, and just like you, Chris, and a lot of the smart boxing minds in our Discord, it's one of my favorite things about the Discord is because we can have these conversations and we kind of use each other's perspective to formulate our game plan. We're not always going to get it right, but that's the beautiful part about having a well-educated boxing community. So Chris, he didn't come, but he's coming on. So he's coming on for the Ryan Garcia Mario Barrios card, just to let you know. So we're going to be doing the live together, me, Paulie, and Tommy. What's up, Shy? What's good, Johnny? Let's effing go. Julian, Andy Point, say, come on. We out. Tell him. Let him know. Let's go. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate the support. He appreciates the support, man. Tommy's such a good dude. This is a guy, guys. If you're not following Tommy and Paulie's Big Fight Breakdown on YouTube, follow it. And dude, he was a legit pro. He started boxing as a 17-year-old, had 30 amateur fights, carved out a good career. I think he was 24-8 with 2 draws, never been stopped. So Tommy is a tough Long Island guy. Wherever he goes, he never has to pay for a drink. And this is what I was telling the boxing boys is like, it's not just being a world famous undefeated Hall of Famer. It's not just becoming a world champion. It's not just fighting for world titles. People in boxing know that if you are a pro and you fought at the high level, If you've never been stopped, that's a thing. And this is the thing with Jesse Hart tonight. This Jesse Hart's never been stopped. You think that Jesse Hart is going to want to go into this fight and let a 29-year-old kid stop him for the first time? Jesse Hart, he's live, dude. He's live. But at 36-37, are those legs live? Is that body live? Is that flesh vehicle live? We're going to see. Raw Dog, yes. What a great name. Why life is short. Raw Dog, baby. I'm from Fontana. That's Brandon Royval's nickname. I remember when Brandon Royval broke through from the regional scene into the UFC, and I remember thinking to myself, because Royval was like, late 20s. We knew about Brandon for years before he made it to the UFC, and I remember thinking to myself, will he keep the name Raw Dog when he gets? Will I hear Bruce Buffer, Brandon Raw Dog? And sure enough, he kept the nickname. Sugar Shay. I think he might have brought this fight up. He had to, dude. He was a tricky southpaw too. Tommy Style was tricky. If you watch, you can find some of his fights. He would do that pull. He would do that pull counter hook, the lead hook. He'd slide in, slide out, and try to catch you there. He has some craftiness to his game too. Tough kid. Tough kid. Huge fight for both guys. I like it. I like, you know what? I like all the Raymond Muratalla love, man. I really do. I think he's one of these guys who's great for the sport. You always got to admire, for me at least, somebody who lives in the gym, devoted to the game, just stay switched on. I hold Muratalla to I look at Jermaine Ortiz the same way. I'm a big fan of Jermaine Ortiz. Stay switched on, super professional. You're always going to get a guy who's prepared to fight. He's fought at the highest level. Talk about a fighter who's slept on, man. I wish the boxing fandom really knew how good Jermaine Ortiz is. In terms from a technical boxer with a ring IQ who does a lot of the little things really well, is he a big puncher? No. Has he, the viral moment that's been circulating on Instagram? No. But man, this guy is at the highest level. Keyshawn Davis, for a guy that's going into his first fight at 140 pounds, for a guy that's coming off of, so much turmoil, getting stripped, getting pulled from the fight in his hometown, the locker room scuffle with Albright, leaving Bomac, changing camps, all this sort of questions in Keyshawn's head. He's fighting a guy like Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine knows who he is. Jermaine Ortiz has no questions about who he is. And, I'm not saying I'm picking Jermaine to win. My money is on Keyshawn. This is going to sound crazy. My money's on Keyshawn, but I'm cheering for Jermaine, which sounds crazy. I know you guys it's hard to fathom or reconcile that. But my money is on Key. Bet with your wallet, not with your heart. But I'm cheering for Jermaine, man. I think boxing's such a brutal sport, and you have this, as a pro fighter, you have such a small window of being able to operate at the highest level. Your physical prime, if you live to 70, 80 years old, your physical prime as a pro athlete is so tiny. It's like an eyelash of time, right? And so when you see a guy who's as talented but underappreciated, how do you not cheer for that guy? I agree. I want Ortiz to win.